Hey guys, welcome back to Sparkman Homestead. My name is Krista. We are in my garage right now because we have to do a freezer clean out. I really want to get some Christmas cookies made up with you guys, but I went into my freezer and I realized I have no freezer space whatsoever. So there is quite a bit of projects sitting in here that I actually need to get processed. So I thought, take you guys along with me today. We'd clean out the freezer, get the stuff that we need out of it, and get those projects done so that we can finally make some Christmas cookies together. I like to make huge big batches of Christmas cookies, and then I just put them in my freezer, and then when I need them I just take them out and thaw them out. I also want to make a whole bunch of platters for some of our friends so that we can deliver them to them, and it's getting closer to Christmas, so I really want to get that project done, but we've got to get the freezer done first. So we're gonna get that done right now. It is somewhat earlier in the morning, so we can start the day off good and get some projects completely finished before the end of the day. So I brought a basket out with me, but I am thinking that this basket is definitely not going to be big enough. Here is the state of the freezer. It is literally full to the brim. So we definitely need to get some stuff out of here. I have a whole bunch of bags of tomatoes. So what we're gonna do today is we're gonna make up a tomato sauce. We're gonna use some of these. These are cherry tomatoes also. This is one of our turkeys. It's getting a little bit freezer burn because I wasn't able to seal it correctly, but that is fine. We're gonna use, that's gonna be our Christmas turkey. So we're gonna leave that in here for a little bit. The other thing that I want to try to find in here is some ham hocks. When we ordered our whole hog, I got them to give me the ham hocks. I want to get those curing because they usually take about 14 days to cure. And my hope is with those ham hocks, we're going to smoke them, and then I am going to make some split pea soup with it. And I'm also going to use those ham hocks just to kind of make beans with. Nice smoked beans. So we have to find them. I think they're in this freezer. They may... I don't think I put them in the other freezer. We also have this freezer here as well. This freezer is pretty organized, so we don't really need to do very much with it. I know it doesn't look very organized, but I really do have stuff kind of sorted. Like these are all my pork products, like my pork chops and stuff. I have a couple of, sorry, it's going blurry here. I have a couple of roasts right here, and then these are like some sirloin steaks, and then more sirloin steaks. Then I've got all my bacon. This here is some apple cider that I made with you guys, and I just froze it in some glass mason jars. So when we want apple cider, we can just take it out and freeze it. And this is where I kind of store my tortellinis. I buy tortellinis from Sam's Club. This is kind of one of my quick kind of cheat meals where I don't really have to cook. I love their tortellinis. But this is where I keep all of my cheese. Love this cheese, but Azure doesn't cover it anymore. Azure does not carry that cheese anymore. I haven't been able to get it. I haven't actually been able to get any cheese for the last 6 months from Azure Standard. I have some on my order, and my order closes today and it ships next week. So fingers crossed we get some cheese because we are running really, really low on cheese and I would like to get stocked up on it. I'm not too concerned with the freezers being open today because it is somewhat... Oh, it's 50 in here, but it's not hot outside. It's pretty cool. If it gets hot in here, I can always pop my garage door open and then it'll let a little bit of cool air in here. So let's get started. We are going to start with getting these tomatoes out of here. I have my roaster oven already taken out, so we're going to put those in the roaster oven. We might actually go and put the tomatoes in the roaster oven right now so that they can kind of get started while we finish the rest of this project, because these are going to take a while to cook down because they're rock frozen. Also going to use my cherry tomatoes. These are not tomatoes. These are actually some ground cherries that I froze. I have a recipe for a ground cherry pie and it is delicious, so I saved a little bit of them. Okay, I think that's the last of the tomatoes, so let's go in and quickly get these put into the roaster oven. These may not all fit in here right now because they are frozen, but once they start to kind of melt, I will slowly start to add them in. Let's see how many bags we get in right now. got all them in. I also have some tomatoes over here that I picked green and they are starting to go bad, so we need to get them used. So I'm just gonna put them in there. But what we'll do is we will wait actually until these over here start to come down a little bit, or start to melt a little bit. That is all of them in here. I'm not too concerned with using cherry tomatoes because we are going to strain these, so I'll be able to get all the skins and seeds out. So let's get this turned on to 300. Get the lid put on that. Now these baggies, I actually wash my Ziploc baggies out and reuse them. I will not reuse them, no, if they had any type of meat in them, but for anything like bread or stuff that I put in the freezer, like these tomatoes, these are perfectly fine to reuse. So I'm just gonna leave those in there for a little bit. We'll deal with them when we get back. I'm gonna rinse them out and just dry them and then put them back in my shelf. So let's go, actually, let's get these tomatoes and put them over there so I don't forget about them. Some of them started to go bad already. I'll just give this to the chickens. And to be honest, I have preserved enough tomato products to last us for about a year, maybe a year and a half. So we're not in dire need of tomato products, but I do like having tomato products available. I also have my tea sitting here waiting for me. I will just end up reheating that when we come back in. After we clean the freezer out, I am just gonna grab some gloves because my hands get freezing cold when I'm taking stuff in and out of that freezer. I can't find my winter gloves. Not sure where I put them. Okay, so our goal is to find ham hocks and anything else that we could potentially preserve up. I really need gloves though. I'm gonna use some garden gloves here. Alrighty. This salmon, I know I can put inside, so I'm gonna just put this in my basket so we can bring inside, and we'll put this in the house freezer because tomorrow night I'm actually making, or tonight, no, tomorrow night I'm making a salmon dish. I'll put this cod in the inside also because I usually like to have my fish in my inside freezer anyways because it doesn't take up as much space. So we'll bring that in also. Everything else I am just going to get out and just lay on the floor over here. Winter gloves would definitely be way better to doing this project. We got most of this stuff out. I am leaving some of this stuff in here because these are just boxes and I have them already organized. This whole box is all ground beef. I know that that's all pork products. And then this right here is some ground venison. Now I am planning on canning some of that up, but I don't have time to do it right now. Steven is actually out of town for work right now. He just left today and I will be joining him in a couple of days. I don't mind sharing that because we will be way back when this actually comes out for you guys to see. So I don't have time to get a broth started and I do not have time to do like any other canning projects other than the tomato stuff. So that's gonna have to wait until another day, but I know where that is and I will stack a box on top of that box. So I'll just be able to pull that box out and get at that venison. But the other thing I want to do while I have everything out of here is this has a super thick layer of ice on it. So I'm just going to come and just scrape some of this ice off. And then, you know what, I'm probably going to end up having to take these boxes out anyways because see all that stuff down there? I need to get that out. Okay, we got got it all cleaned out. I was able to scrape most of the stuff off the sides, but everything is good and cleaned out. I had to take these 2 boxes out because I used my wet vac to kind of get all the extra ice out, and this is a bucket of snow from the freezer. I just also cleaned around this side. There are some stains on my freezer. My husband uses this freezer when it is closed as a workbench. So this freezer gets really dirty on the top. So I'm gonna also clean that once we get everything put back in here. So now comes the fun time where we are gonna get everything organized and put back in here so that we know where everything is and I'm not having to dig through stuff. So let's get the ground beef back in first. I keep the majority of my ground beef in here, but I do keep a couple of ground beefs in here, and I just keep it in this stand-up freezer just so that it's quick and easy to get at because it's kind of buried in here. So we will restock this freezer also with a little bit of that ground beef. It's also a little bit of a workout doing this because these boxes are not light. They're very, very heavy. So getting my workout in today. That is not even the right freezer box that goes there. I like to keep this one on the bottom because it's a little bit shorter. This is a tall one with floppy sides. So we'll get this box stocked up. Okay, so this box is full now. Get the rest of the ground beef in here. Restock this freezer a little bit. Ever since we processed our turkeys, we have not been eating very much ground beef. We used to eat ground beef a lot, but then we processed our turkeys and now we just don't eat the ground turkey more. I personally prefer ground turkey over ground beef, but it is nice to have a little bit of variety. Okay, that should be good. So let's get the pork back in here. I think what I'm gonna do for the bottom bins is I'm actually gonna put my soup bones in there because I don't need to get at them right now because like I said, I don't have time to really get to them right now. And we are gonna leave this turkey because that needs to go onto the top because we are gonna take that out in a couple weeks for Christmas. Just gonna put a couple more pork shoulders in this freezer. Steven loves pork shoulder and we go through it so much. We're almost out of it. It's probably gonna fall out when I open it next time. So we get our pork shoulder. We don't like pork roast. We really don't eat it. What we do is we get our pork shoulder cut into thin little steaks and then we barbecue it, and it is so delicious with this barbecue sauce on it. Love it, love it, love it, love it. So I'm gonna put these extra ones over on that side. So if we have a little box right here, I'll just put them in there. We also have a bunch of spare ribs, so I'm gonna put those on the bottom because I do like spare ribs. I have a couple of recipes for them, but we don't eat them a lot, so it'll go on the bottom. And not spare ribs, I mean to say short ribs, beef short ribs. And then the pork ribs, so these are the baby back ribs and this is a rack of ribs. I'm gonna put them over with the pork shoulder because they're kind of barbecue stuff. We found the ham hocks. I can only find 3 of them. So there needs to be a 4th somewhere because I don't think we got a 3-legged pig. So I need to find the other ham hock, but these are gonna go into the house because we are gonna get all 4 of them curing. The other thing I just found that I need to get out is our Christmas ham. I cured this in the summer, so I put it in a special bag, and I know that this is gonna be the ham for Christmas. So I'm gonna leave this out with the turkey. I am banking on a lot of leftovers after Christmas. I don't wanna have to cook for while. We just have a whole bunch of chuck roasts, so I'm gonna add some of them in here with the soup bone and the spare ribs because we eat a lot of roast, but we don't eat a super amount of them. The other thing that we have in here is a brisket. What I like to do with our briskets is I use it and I make a corned beef with it. So I will save that for March and then we'll make a corned beef in March. Because I think I only have one brisket left. We love corned beef. So I'm gonna get all of this back in here and then we can go and check on the tomatoes because I think those should start to be hopefully melted soon. Alright, so I put all of the venison in this bag so that it's easy to get at because I don't have any more box space left in here. I will show you guys what it looks like. It looks way, way better. It looks really full still, but I have a whole bunch of room still there. So over here, I've kept most of my frozen vegetables. I do have a lot in that freezer also. And then along the bottom here, I put all of my big chuck roasts. So they're all leaning up against here. I have my Christmas turkey and then the ham is underneath that. And then I make my own stovetop dressing, like stuffing mix, and I just put them in the freezer. I don't think I've actually did a video on that, and that would be a really fun video to show you guys how to make it because it's so simple, and I love having the convenience of pre-made stuffing mix because some recipes call for it. So put that there. I only have 2 bags left of my homemade French fries. So I need to get some more of those made because I love having those for the deep fryer or air fryer. Okay, put the venison there. I have a couple of pre-made cookie dough. I like to make my cookie dough and keep it in the freezer. And then when I want to make it, I just take out a couple balls and put them on a cookie sheet, let them thaw out and then cook them. These are some ginger snap cookies. Have some peppermint patties still that I made last year. And then these are the white chocolate cranberry cookies that we made. 2 rows of ground beef. And then over here is just pretty much all pork stuff, except for the beef tri-tip that I have there, because that's kind of like the barbecue section. And then I have some more ground sausage. So that is all done. We have lots of room to put our cookies now. Well, not lots of room, but I really have to keep this freezer like at this point or less than this, because what happens is it gets too full and then that's what causes all of the ice to build up. It's not good for the freezer. It makes it work too hard. Plus, I think the fact that it has that much ice, it probably wasn't closing correctly and then the air was getting in somehow through here, which again causes the ice to build up. So you really don't want your freezer to be too full and you also don't really want it to be too empty because then it works too hard. So there's like a happy medium with freezers. This one I think is still a tad bit too full, but we will work through it because starting January, we are going to be doing the pantry challenge, and these 2 freezers are going to be my grocery stores. Well, they already are my grocery stores, but I'm going to be really trying to empty them a lot more through that challenge. I'm excited about that. So let me just get the top of this cleaned off, and then we'll go inside and check our tomatoes. The other thing too is I looked for that other ham hock and I cannot find it. So we must have gotten a 3-legged pig, or there was an issue with the 4th ham hock that we didn't end up getting it. I looked in this freezer also. This is another freezer that we have. I just have some of my peppers in here. This is where I keep my butter. And then down here I have some oxtail, and then we have our turkey legs. I have more frozen vegetables, and then again, peppers, and then I have some beef fat up there that I need to get rendered to make some tallow. But that is that freezer. Let's head in. I'm being very careful because the floor is wet in here. Let's head in and do our inside chores. Let's get these ham hocks put in here from our 3-legged pig. and we will just let them sit here because they have to completely defrost. And then once they're defrosted, we will get them set up in the cure. So if I don't have, like if they're still frozen by the end of the day, I will show you guys how I cure them. I'll just do like a little voiceover to show you because I may not get to cure them today, but I do want to show you how easy it is to cure your own meat. I actually have a video showing you guys how to cure ham, and I think there was one other, bacon was the other thing that I showed you. I can leave it linked for you guys, but this recipe is going to be a little bit different. I found it online, and again, I will also leave that linked below for you guys in the video description. So I want to give that a try and just see if I like that recipe versus the one that I usually use for my ham. Lucky time. I am now finally microwaving my tea. I have my tea here. I bought this tea from Azure Standard. It is this stuff. On my Instagram, I have talked about it so much because I am so in love with it. I got this flavor. If I can show you, I'll get the tea bags out. You can buy them in like, it's almost like coffee grounds. I'll show you what they look like. After I bought the tea bags on Azure Standard, I realized how much I love them. And if you go to the actual company's website, it's a little bit cheaper, but see, it's like coffee grounds kind of. And I can use my French press or my pour over with this instead of a tea bag. So delicious. This is another kind that I got. Amazing. I am definitely not affiliated with them, even though I would love to be affiliated with them because it's such a good cup, like delicious. So we have that kind, and then this is the kind that I'm having right now. So good. It tastes like flavored coffee. It's really good. It's caffeine free. What is it to say? Acid free, probiotics, and coffee free. I can't drink coffee. I have mentioned this before on my Azure Standard hauls. I just can't drink it. My body doesn't handle it well. I honestly have like almost an allergic reaction to it. My body gets really inflamed. It's not good for me. So these are what I have instead of coffee. The company sent me one of these free with my order. So I'm excited to try this, a mocha mint. So this is be really good for Christmas time. Dropping everything out of my cupboard here. I just wanted to tell you guys about that because I know I had mentioned it on my Azure Standard haul a couple months back that I had gotten it, and rave reviews on it. So delicious. So let's go and check our tomatoes now. After I have a sip of my tea that I have reheated about 5 times. So I'm just pretty much looking for these to get melted, which as you can see, there's ice in here. So they're not quite melted yet. Might crank this up a tad bit more. Once they get all melted and really starting to break apart, I'm actually going to take some of this water out also. Then what we'll do is we will strain these, and then I'm going to make just a plain tomato sauce with it. I was going to make like a kind of like a taco sauce with it, but I decided just to can it plain tomato sauce. It's quick, easy to do, and then that way maybe later on I can make a taco sauce with the plain stuff. So I'm going to get some of this extra water out. There's not a lot of tomato juice in this. It's pretty much water because these were frozen. That's good. Like that is rock frozen still. I have another really super fun project that we're gonna do today as well. We are going to attempt to make some cottage cheese. I have some milk in my fridge that is a couple weeks old. I picked it up from the Amish over 2 weeks ago. It's not really souring because raw milk doesn't really sour, but it's definitely not at its freshest peak. So that would be perfect for us to make this cottage cheese with. And there is a fly in this house. It is freezing outside, like not freezing. I should change my wording with that. It's cooler outside, and you would think that the flies would be gone, but for some reason there is one fly in my house and it just keeps reappearing like every so often. So I need to kill it because it keeps going around my tea and stuff. So this recipe that I read, again, linked below for you guys in the video description, it sounds like it is really, really, really simple to make. So we're gonna attempt to do it. I've made ricotta cheese before, and this sounds almost like exactly the same as making ricotta cheese. It's not exactly the same. There's a couple of little tiny differences in it. So we need 1 gallon of milk, 3/4 cup of white vinegar or lemon juice, 1 teaspoon of salt, and then optional, if you would like a more creamier cottage cheese, you can use 1/2 cup of heavy cream. We might do that. So let's get our milk out because we have to get it into a heavy bottom stock pot. Because we're using a gallon, this is usually what I actually make my mozzarella cheese in, and I know that a gallon fits in this perfect. So we're gonna use that one, and this fly has got to die. Okay, let's get the milk out. This is a 1/2 gallon here. And then have this one here. It's not quite full, so I have another full 1/2 gallon here. This one is newer than this one, so I'm just gonna top this up with some milk. Let's get our milk added. Have my thermometer ready. So the recipe says we need to heat this up to 190 degrees. So that's why you need to have a thermometer. Use either a wooden spoon or a whisk. And you're just gently gonna stir it from time to time so that it does not burn on the bottom of it. Once it reaches 190 degrees, we are gonna remove it off of the stovetop. I'm gonna get I think I wanna use vinegar for this. I usually use lemon juice when I make my ricotta, but I'm feeling vinegar for this particular one. So let's get some white vinegar out. This is my little vinegar container I keep in my kitchen, and then I just keep the big ones in my back pantry and just top it up when I need it. What? Should have used a funnel. At least it's vinegar. It'll clean. So we'll put this one back in here, and since we already have this out, we'll just leave this out for the recipe. And then I have my table salt right here as well. So I like to just kind of read ahead a little bit. I've already pre-read this recipe just because I totally did not want to go into this just blindly. So I pre-read it, just kind of went over the directions a little bit just so that I know loosely what I'm doing, but you guys are definitely doing this for the first time with me. So we may screw up, but that's okay. I have found that I never ever do something perfect the very first time I do it. If I do, it is a huge, huge rarity. Usually it takes me a lot in order to get a recipe down pat or get something down pat. So we're gonna learn together. Once the milk is heated to temperature, remove the pot from the heat, and if you remove it prematurely, your cheese will not curdle. If you do not remove it in time, you will have very small curds and a low yield, and your cheese will be tough and chewy. So we gotta get it at exactly 190, so that's where this thing comes into play. So then what we have to do, once we have it off of the heat, we have to stir in 3/4 cup of vinegar or lemon juice if you're using. It says again, you can use a wooden spoon or a whisk with that. And it says you're gonna see the milk start to curdle right away. What you need to do then is cover the entire pot, and we're gonna let it rest for 30 minutes. So let's just get this to come into temperature. Gotta stir it a little bit. I think we'll use a whisk because it's probably going to be easier to get the vinegar in there. We're just going to whisk it so that it doesn't burn. I'll come in and frequently do that. Let's get, grabbing behind you, my measuring cup. So let's pour what did I say, 3/4 cup? Yeah, let's pour 3/4 cup vinegar in here so that we have it all ready for us when we need it. I like to have everything all prepared so that I'm not scrambling to do it and then I end up missing things. How much salt do we need? We need 1 teaspoon of salt. So let me get my teaspoon out. get our salt out, get that all set on the counter, ready to rock. Okay, so I will come back when this gets to 190 degrees. Stirring a lot more because I don't want it to burn, and I can feel it getting kind of more thicker on the bottom. Okay, we're at 181, so we're very, very close. Need to get one that sticks on the side. Yep, we're at 190. Well, it just said 190 and then it, yeah, 192. So let's get it off right now. We have our 3/4 cup of white vinegar, so we're gonna whisk it in. So you can see it already starting to curdle. Probably got it too hot. And we will cover this up for 30 minutes. Okay, our timer went off. I have started another little side project here. I am just taking some of my peppers that I harvested the end of the growing season when I was pulling my garden, and I just threw them in my extra garage fridge, and I'm finally dealing with them. So because we're doing a freezer clean out, I do not want to put these in the freezer. Plus I already have some in there. So what I'm going to do with these is I am just going to dice these up and then throw them in my dehydrator, and then that way I have another kind of source of green peppers preserved. So let's get this strained out. So I have a colander, another stock pot, or another pot, it's not a stock pot, and then I have a Michelin cloth. You can use a tea towel or a like thick cheesecloth that's kind of double layered. And then what we're gonna do with a slotted spoon is we're gonna take our curds. We're just gonna scoop our curds out. Yeah, it got too hot because these are really small. Anyways, we're gonna take our curds and just use a slotted spoon and put them in here. Now that it's the next day, I just wanted to come in and just explain a little bit more about this, because I definitely did some wrong steps when making this cheese. My cheese turned out extremely dry, like really, really dry. Not really, in my opinion, like cottage cheese. So what I'm gonna do next time I make this recipe is I am going to only let it drain for probably 5 minutes at max in order to keep some of that moisture in it. Okay, now we have it all scooped out. What we're gonna do is just leave this sit for another 30 minutes. I'm just gonna cover it up a little bit here. So after 30 minutes, we're gonna come and then we're gonna wring it out. This bowl right here is all the way. There is nothing left in here. These are the curds. So this is what I was saying with their smaller. So the recipe was stating that if you let it get too hot, the curds do get smaller. So I'm gonna have small curds, which is fine. It's gonna be cottage cheese, so I'm happy. Again, first time we're making this, it's all a learning experience. So the whey is really good to use. You can use this to make bread. You can make a whole bunch of stuff with leftover whey. What I usually do, because it is going into the winter months, some of my chickens are molting and it's cooler days. So what I'd like to do is I cool that whey down and actually give it to my chickens, because it's really good extra protein for them and they love it. It is like one of their favorite snacks. So I'm gonna cool that down and then give it to my chickens, and then we're gonna let this drain for 30 minutes, and I'm gonna finish cutting up all of those peppers and getting them into my dehydrator. It's been over 30 minutes now. I just had to stop and have a little bit of lunch. So this is pretty good and drained. So what we're gonna do is just take it out of the colander like this. This is what we were left with in here. This, again, just gonna go to the chickens. Over the sink, we're gonna do this. We're just gonna drain it out like this. We're gonna turn the water on to cold. I'm gonna tell you before I do this, because you probably won't be able to hear me. I'm gonna turn the water on cool, and we are just gonna keep doing this until it cools the cheese down. This is another step that I think I did incorrectly. I would not be wringing it as hard as I was. I should have just been really lightly moving the cheese around just to get that cool water in it, because I think I made them dry by just wringing it out a little bit too hard. But again, like I said earlier, it was an experiment. This was my very first time making it, and I always do something wrong, and that's how I learned from it. It's pretty cold. Not cold, it's cooled down a little bit. Now we have to take it and dump it into a bowl, just a clean bowl with nothing in it. Now it's time to add our salt. So I'm gonna add a teaspoon of salt. It says this is optional, but I have made mozzarella before without salt in it, and it really needs it. And ricotta also usually calls for salt too. So we're just gonna stir it in. You see how these are really small curds? I'm gonna add the cream to this because this is really dry and I would like it to not be dry. So I'm gonna add the half a cup of heavy cream to this. Make sure this is cream and not eggnog. They look exactly the same. Sour cream. It's or not sour cream, cottage cheese. It is definitely not like the kind that you get in the store where it's like in the way, kind of. I think they may just do that for preserving purposes, but this is delicious. It's really, really delicious. It is so creamy. I definitely am going to be making my own cottage cheese from now. It is so easy and it tastes really, really good. Chill your cottage cheese for at least an hour before serving. Make sure to use it within 5 to 7 days or sooner if you know that your milk was really almost spoiled. So because mine was a couple weeks old, this probably would be at max maybe 5 days. So I wonder if I could freeze it. I don't know, but I'm definitely going to be having this with my breakfast for the next week because this is really, really good. So I can smell my tomatoes, so I think it's about time that we take those tomatoes out and get them strained out. Let's go and check on them. Actually, I'm going to first of all get this put in my fridge. Just store it in a glass Pyrex container. Now I'm sure if you pull this off like earlier, because remember we let it go a little bit too hot, you're not going to get these tiny little curds. You'll get bigger pieces, bigger curds. Let's check these tomatoes. Definitely done. Some more water on top of it. So let me see if I can get some more of that off. It's starting to have a little bit more tomato in it. See how it's not as clear? Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna strain these and then we're gonna add it back after we are done straining it. Straining is just gonna get the skins off and get the seeds out. So once we're done straining it, I'm just gonna use that little strainer because this is a really small batch. So we'll use this hand one. This is usually what I use anyways. It's just this vintage food mill. Then I empty it into this bowl. Okay, so we got it strained through the very first time. I like to strain it a second time just because some of the seeds tend to get through on that first strain. So I am going to finish that up. Now, because that is a smaller batch of tomato sauce, I get to use my new 16-quart stock pot. Yay! So excited. So this is probably going to be a very late night canning. Because this really is very, very, very watery. And it's just because I use like a slicer or like a beefsteak tomato. They have a lot of water content. If I use like a paste tomato, I probably wouldn't have to cook it down as much, but I like a thicker tomato sauce. So I'm gonna let this cook down for the rest of the day. And then tomorrow I will come back with you guys and we will get these ham hocks all cured up because I really wanna show you how to do that. It is such an easy thing to do, and ham hocks honestly are so cheap. If you can get them at your local butcher, it's amazing to add to soups and stuff. So I'll come back tomorrow and show you guys that. And then tonight I will probably turn the camera on and just quickly get these canned up with you guys as well. So I will see you back tomorrow when we get these ham hocks all cured up. We are gonna get these ham hocks all cured up. So because we are using a curing salt in this, you need to weigh your meat because you have to use a certain amount of curing salt per pound of meat. Now this recipe calls for 2 to 3 pounds of ham hocks. Mine, I weighed them out and I had almost 5 pounds. So what I'm doing is I am going to double this recipe. So to a large bowl or a stock pot, you're going to add 4 cups cups of water, 6 tablespoons of kosher salt, 6 tablespoons of a light brown sugar, 1 teaspoon of a curing salt. It is not a pink Himalayan salt. It is completely different. It is called a curing salt. 1 whole bay leaf and half a teaspoon of black peppercorns. You're going to stir that until it is all dissolved, and then you're going to pour that brine over top of the ham hocks. You need to make sure that the ham hocks are completely submerged. I like to add a little plate, and that keeps them completely pushed down. I do come in and check them frequently just to make sure that they are covered. Now you are going to refrigerate this for 7 days. After the 7 days, you're going to rinse the brine off of the ham hocks, pat them dry, and put them back into the fridge uncovered to air dry overnight for up to 24 hours. And then at that point, you can smoke your ham hocks. I'm going to end up leaving 1 out and then putting the other 2 in the freezer for later on to make my beans with. That is it for today's video. I want to thank you guys so much for joining me today while we cleaned out the freezer and our fridge. We got a lot done, which makes me very, very happy. And I hope you have a great day or night whenever you're watching this, and I will see you on the next video. Bye guys.